Okay. All right. So just to also share with you, Paul's done a lot of work on this with me. We implemented in Moodon. We've got lots of templates. We're happy to share. And so if there's anything that you would like, please tell us. Help us understand. Just help us share with that, and we'll try to answer all your questions. And where possible, we'll try to give you the resources as well. Whatever is available, we'd like to make free so that you guys can benefit from it as well. Okay, so I've got a tremendous amount of slides as usual. Always feel
Quick
bad.
question, Howard, what does NDMO stand for?
The National Data Management Office, and it's actually a part of SDAIA, which is the Saudi Data and AI Authority. There are several elements to that. NIC, NDMO is responsible for the regulations, Drew. It's the body that created it, is sponsoring it, and enforcing it. So yeah, there's a sort of authority underneath the SDAIA authority which affects these regulations. So also just to share with you, when we say national data management, the first round of people that need to be compliant are ministries and authorities and that are part of government. But what we will be finding and what I am seeing, I'm working with, for example, the different banks. One of the banks is A&B, and we've helped them set this up and spend time educating and help them understand what it is that they would need to do as part of the submissions. Now, of course, for example, there's open data and freedom of information. Those are the type of things that tend to relate to government institutions, but it's nice to share with them in terms of how they can benefit from that thinking as well. Okay. Thanks, Drew. Glad you asked that. And you may have seen a LinkedIn post from the guys in UK where they were sharing all the different domains and things like that. Now, I'm going to try not to go through all of those domains because there's 20 slides and it takes up a whole lot of stuff, and there's free documentation available. If you are interested, please give me a shout, and we'll share that with you. So one of the things, and maybe just to tell you some stories, for example, we're working with several ministries, everyone from SCFHS to TGA to SAR to elements like this that are working in this area. And lots of times when I go and visit, just to share DAMA, share the DMBOK, typically do that for free. We find that the CEOs are not very happy with the amount of effort and energy that they're putting into it, and they ask the question, well, what are we going to get? What are we going to get out of this thing? And that goes to Drew's point: is like, where's the value in compliance? And one of the talks that I do to executive levels is help the executives understand how AI, data products can benefit them and how they can change the way in which they see data management to helping them bring about a level of ROI, level of revenue, whatever it may be, to benefit their organization. And one of the things I really share as part of our SDAIA big training was to say, I think that Saudi is in a phenomenal position. Drew and I can also, I'm sure you can comment on this, is that this regulation that has been almost set up by the prince and the government to say, we are all going to achieve this level of maturity. The drivers behind it were, from an economic point of view, right? They're wanting to almost towards 2030. They're talking about 14 to 15% of the GDP is data and AI. A really nice vision and adventure that they're on. And to do this, they're going to have to uplift all of the areas. And it's an extremely comprehensive set of regulations. It's as comprehensive as the DMBOK. It's got some added domains, which is data value realization. I will show you a mapping a little bit later on. And what they're forcing basically is all organizations to what I refer to as a defined maturity level, or what the DMBOK refers to as defined, which is level 3. And at that point in time, the short description of defined means that all of the ways of work, there's a shared understanding. All the standards have been set and are used in the organization, across the organization. Okay, so we're getting consistent and shared understanding and behavior. Now, if you're anything like me and you've done a whole lot of assessments across all different companies in different countries, not many of them are at level 3. I know Paul has been talking to an insurance company, been doing a quick maturity assessment. Drew, I don't know if you have, but they're on. Now I've just finished a big telco, and the big telco was 1.4, 1.5. And it really kills this thing of having standards across the entire organization, that shared understanding and behavior. That's what kills them. Any comment from your side, Drew?
Howard, I think you're spot on. And very often, especially in the commercial side of things, and I can't really talk about this, the Saudi environment anymore, but on the commercial side, everybody's so busy trying to make a buck and cover their own bum. And this is somebody else's problem. It's the CIO's problem. It's the CDO's problem. It's the whoever.
Correct.
Probably the only place is one of the banks where they said by having good data to drive compliance and legislation, that same data actually gives them the ability to drive some of their models, some of their AI and machine learning and stuff, because the same data was good enough. But no, it's got a long way to go.
So if we think about it, I know I've been working in the data management game with all big organizations, from banks to central banks to telcos to shucks, even airlines, insurance companies, and maybe if I'm lucky, I've seen 2 or 3 that are level defined. And what NDMO P1 is asking for is that we get to a level P1, that's the NDMO priority 1 defined level. We get to that maturity level of 3. So I don't know how to explain or to just show you the value of that. This level defined is where knowledge management starts. It's where we start to work together, pull together, shared decision making. This is when you can take your management to another level. Before that, you've got lots of different way of doing things, different people going in different directions, and a whole lot of change management and things like that that you need to do. And now the NDMO is saying, we got to get you not in 10 years, in 2 years. Now, yes, it may seem like a level of impossibility. I'm sure those that are in Saudi, they're all under the pressure to get it done, and we're getting there. But what a fantastic opportunity to go from Paul. If I remember doing our first ministry, we did a DMMA, and I think the value was what, around about 0.5. 0.6. Do you remember our first assessment?
Yeah, hard 0.6.
0.6. So we're going to go from 0.6 to 3 in the space of maybe 2 years. Okay, other companies are still languishing around 1 and things like that. So I don't, again, I'm trying to say that the positivity out of that is really important. Not many companies have got there, and you're going to be getting yourselves to that level. Okay. It does, just to explain as well, it does require that there's appropriate level of knowledge, there's appropriate level of certification capabilities that come along with this. We're seeing tremendous improvement in Saudi in terms of just DAMA certified professionals. When we started in October of 2021, we had 3 people in LinkedIn. 3 people. When I got you, I was quite depressed. I think the last time I did a count, it was 250, 260 people that now had CDNP behind their name on LinkedIn. So it's fantastic what's actually happening and the transformation. I think it's one of the fastest growing countries in this area, but that's the important one.
Howard,
The next,
question. With
yes,
that strong drive and support from the Prince, are people's KPIs, performance goals being adjusted to reflect the move to
right.
putting governance in place?
Yeah, Drew, and that's certainly what you'll find in lots of the domains are the appropriate levels of KPIs that they're requesting across all domains. There are some challenges. So, for example, the KPIs that they are talking about are sort of only coming out in P3, and I'm saying that's a bit strange. You know, we should be doing these KPIs up in P1 when we get our policies and procedures and things defined, so people have those metrics to work on. And they are in agreement. I've been having some chats lately to different people about bringing the importance of the KPIs up earlier. We, as an example, when we submitted, we got our KPIs done in P1. And it was helpful for us to have that direction that people understood what level they need to operate at. So yes, there is that's coming through. We have those requirements and it needs to be delivered on. Okay. So the other thing that I find fascinating is that this NDMO regulation / standards / guidelines, it's one of the most comprehensive set of regulations that I've seen. I've seen one other country, Malaysia. Those are the people that are also doing some of this thing. Abu Dhabi is also doing some work in this area as well. But it's not just privacy and protection. So what we are seeing, for example, in Europe, where we do have this big focus on GDPR, that's where all the companies are focusing on and buckling down to. Whereas here it's everything. So it's not just a one-sided view. Whereas what you do find sometimes when I go to the UK, it's let's just get this thing signed off and we just pay attention to this, and anything else that doesn't fit in there, so well, we don't need to worry about it now. And that becomes it becomes skewed. The whole focus on data management becomes skewed, and that's an unfortunate situation to be in. Whereas this one is very comprehensive. Okay. Now let's look on the other side, and this is what I was trying to share with you is some of the people, some of the feedback that I'm getting from executives, CEOs, is it's first, and in some cases with the banks, it's like, this is not all applicable to us. We don't need to do any of it. And one of my warnings is, as soon as you start taking things out, I believe you start to lose, because it tends to work as a whole, not as individual areas. Other complaints, too much work. I'm sure maybe I can get some comments from the Saudi people. There are a total of 191 submissions across all the priorities, P1, P2, and P3. When we did a breakdown to all of the deliverables that need to be created, there's 709 deliverables. So this is no small piece of work that you're going to get done very quickly. And the other feedback that I'd like to share is one of the CEOs, when I went to go and see them, he called me in and said, Howard, I now have 14 consultants all doing a whole lot of work, and I can't see the value that I'm getting out of this thing. So please tell me how and what we need to do to get value. And I think it's about changing that focus. It's about starting to restructure your work according to the P1 domain, to data value realization, and I'm going to show you how to do that. But there is lots of value in these data management regulations and supervision. So let's try to get there a little bit quicker now. But that's almost my summary of benefit or burden. These are the challenges that we're facing. Here is almost the set of topics that I want to share with you. I don't believe I'm going to get through them all, but I'll leave them here, and we'll share the presentation with you and all the different materials that we have. So the very first thing that I did when I arrived in Saudi to do some training, and I saw the specification, and we had Afnan, who's desperately wanting to do a DMMA. We had to quickly find a way of now doing a data maturity assessment to understand where we were in the path of the NDMO regulation. And this is what I have done, and this is my focus. Of course, my focus is DMBOK International. We all have lots of materials in terms of the knowledge area, the activity phase, the activity, and the DMBOK deliverable. I've got those in databases, and it was now saying, okay, I've got to this level, but I've now got to connect those specifications to a deliverable. Okay, that was not that easy. It took us, I think, in the region about a month and a half to actually build all of these mappings and to recreate the folders. Okay, so here is just a side-by-side comparison. Drew, this is the NDMO domain definition. It looks similar to the DMBOK view, okay, but there are some major changes. For example, in the DMBOK, we've got oversight in these different areas, and there's culture and strategy and all those type of things. Yes, it is in the data governance domain. Then we've got our foundational activities, and we can see here that the NDMO have got data classification and availability and freedom of information, and there's a little bit of confusion here in terms of availability or freedom of information, and way in which we answered freedom of information is that if a Saudi citizen starts to question why an authority is using certain data, or they are trying to achieve certain goals and questions, the Saudi citizens can challenge and actually ask the ministry for an understanding of what data are you collecting and why are you collecting that data. So there's a little bit of ethics and sort of review on what's happening. It's not the same as data privacy. So there's a difference between a data subject requesting that information on their behalf compared to a concerned citizen saying, what is this data all about? What are you doing with it? What are you trying to understand and calculate, especially with AI and those different things? So that's freedom of information. So there's data classification and availability. And then there's also a lower layer, which is data protection. Okay. And on the left-hand side, they've got data assetization, and that deals with data quality and metadata. But we also know that data quality and metadata across all those different areas very similar to the way the DMBOK has that. So, and then we've got data operations, document and content, architecture and modeling, reference data and master data, and BIA, data value, open data, and sharing and interoperability. Okay. And also just to warn you is that this is the NDMO 1.5. They are re-looking at it, and at some stage they're going to publish 1.6, and there will be a review on some of the existing work that we've done. And this is also really important for those people in Saudi. If you don't develop and find a way of getting a lot of this to be data-driven, you're going to battle continuously in terms of getting these submissions, because every year you have to submit. Let's say we at the end of P3, there's 191 submissions. You'll have to keep on submitting those every year. So this is not a small task, and you don't want to keep on calling army loads of contractors, consultants in to do these submissions. Okay, so what was the approach that I took? First of all, I did a domain, NDMO domain to knowledge area mapping. Then I did a DMBOK deliverable to activity mapping in the DMBOK, because the DMBOK, if you look at the context diagram, it's got a whole lot of activities, but it doesn't have a well-defined mapping between the deliverables and the activities. Something that we're trying to get working within the DMBOK to have a lot better association, relationship between the two. And then my next step was to go DMBOK to specification, NDMO specification deliverable. And then it's about identifying missing deliverables and going forward and going down that path. Okay, so this was step one. This is my original mapping. And here's where I said, I've got some concerns here. For example, data handling ethics. Where is the domain on data handling ethics? Now, where we got to be careful is we got two approaches. One is we can actually distribute data handling ethics across those 14 domains. For example, in BIA, we would have all the AI stuff there, but there's a lot on ethics that brings everything together and corporate policies for ethics, and it's quite hard to deal with independently. Similarly, we have change management. Now you'll see, for example, there is communication in the current submission, P1, P2. I think most of it sits in P2, Paul, if I'm not incorrect. Most of change management sits in P2, but we brought it earlier on because we are convinced that change management is the key to getting us from a level 2, whatever it is, to a level 3. If we don't get the people using it and applying these standards within the ministry, we never get to a level 3. That's what I think a lot of times happens in other countries, is we never get there. There isn't something called a maturity assessment in the NDMO P1. That's separate. That was a different area. And then, so here's my mapping. Data governance, yes, we got a data governance domain. KSA has got data catalog and metadata. The DMBOK calls it metadata because a data catalog is metadata. I think they wanted to focus on the data catalog, but calling it data catalog and metadata is, I'm not sure the exact reason behind it, but then they have data quality, data operations, document and content is there, data architecture and modeling. And we break that up into, the DMBOK breaks it up into data architecture and data modeling, reference data, BI and analytics. DMBOK has 2, data warehouse and business intelligence, and big data and data science, data sharing and interoperability, data integration and interoperability. And in some of my latest discussions, it seems like they wanting to go back to data integration and interoperability. Data value realization. I believe this is a really powerful domain that the DMBOK doesn't do well in. It is in data governance. If you remember that previous slide of mine, it spoke of data valuation. Then we have open data, freedom of information, data classification, personal data protection, and data security. So that's the high-level domain mapping. Now, this is your important one. This is the mapping spreadsheet that I've been talking about, that I raised on the LinkedIn. And so I just wanted to give you some quick, just a quick view of that in terms of I'm sure you won't be able to see anything, but let's just go down and let's look at this area. So here is the Excel that we got from the NDMO, and you can see, it's that domain, it's this control, this specification. We gave it these fancy numbering systems. So we call it 01 DG 1.1, it's control 1 and specification 1. And there's the specification ID. So you can, now I'm sure you can, I'm hoping you can see that this is the description of that first specification. Okay. And let's take a quick look at it now, and I'm hoping you can see some of the challenges already, where you can see there's actually 5 subtasks underneath DG 1.1. Okay, 5 subtasks. And here, the current data management challenges, the way we would do that in the DMBOK, or the way DMBOK recommends doing that, is a maturity assessment, and as is maturity assessment. So that number 1 maps to the deliverable DMMA, maturity assessment. And number 2, strategic requirements, that maps to a data strategy. Plus number 3, which is the vision. And then you've got metrics across the different targets, what you're trying to achieve, and then a financial budget. And then what you've got is, in some cases, you've actually got resourcing and things like that that you need to deal with. And what I'd like to show you here is that I now then map that onto the DMBOK, and I do certain levels of deliverable mapping. So the spreadsheet that I wanted to share with you and show you almost in terms of how to do it looks something like this. I'm hoping you can see it. And this one is across all domains. And if we click on that, can you see we get a count of 710, excluding the header. So you've got 709 rows that you get when you take all of these specifications and you break them down into tasks and subtasks. So I'm hoping just to share with you, I take that one specification and I break it down into data management challenges. These are the 5 that come out of there. Can you see those are the different task numbers? And as we move to the right, so let's just go to the right. You can see here, there is what we call a unique ID for every single deliverable, every single submission. We call it a process sequence number, and we've given it this nice unique ID that we can cross-reference wherever we are. We then map it to the DMBOK deliverable, and then we map it to the name of the NDMO submission. All right, and maybe I can just pause here for anyone from who's working with the submissions. Are there any questions that you'd like to ask about this mapping? So you can see I've got task, subtask. So here is the view of the mapping of all of the NDMO submissions to the DMBOK deliverables. Are there any questions from our Saudi people that need to implement it as soon as possible? Any questions overall?
Yes, I'd like to ask
Sure.
if that's fine. Yeah.
Sure.
So all of these domains would be like implemented in parallel, right?
Yes, every single submission or specification. So can you see here, for example, let's just simplify this. If I, first of all, let me filter out so you can look in Excel. Those are the 15, 14 domains. Can you see those domains? If I just filter to data governance, sorry, do it the other way around, take it off, and then filter to data governance. These are all of the, that's domain 1, data governance. These are all the controls, strategy and plan. These are all the specifications. And so you can see this is control 1, specification 1, and it's called data management and personal data protection strategy. That's your specification that they have. And remember, I shared with you that it's actually got those 5 underlying elements that you have to deliver as part of that. And then this is the name of the DMBOK deliverable and NDMO submission.
Yeah, okay, fine. Yes.
Okay, so that's your 709.
I have a question. What about the priority? Like we have a strategic plan for 3 years as
Yes.
NDMO at that. I cannot see in the Excel the priority.
Okay, so what you are seeing is, and I think I've actually hidden a few of them like that. So in the X, so unhide, there you go. There's the NDMO priority. Now what we did, Ahmed, is we used the NDMO priority, but what we found out that it's not detailed enough when it talks about interdependencies. And in some cases, some of our stuff drift across the different areas. And I'll actually show you a diagram of how I've sequenced everything to allow you to pick up interdependencies between submissions and deliverables. So You've got priorities, that's the NDMO priority. You've got internal project priorities. You can see here we broke it up, our 3 different phases on P1 for the deliverable. We broke it up into strategy and planning, principles and policies, and awareness and performance. Those are the 3 areas, and I'll show you a nice diagram where we linked all of these together and created an overall sequence for deliverables. Okay, and then we've also created.
What about dependency? Like, I can tell from the NDMO, they say, like, for example, DG1 1.2 is depends on, for example, DMA 1.1, for example.
Yes, so we've got those dependencies in the database, and I'll show you. Let me just, I'm going to jump to that to show you what we've done. Let me just find the spreadsheet that does it. I'm going to jump around. Please bear with me. Okay, slide 47. Okay, so here are the deliverables that we've set up to answer your question, Ahmed. In terms of these, what you can see here are both domains and controls, and in some cases submissions, where we have dependencies and an ordering in terms of how you must implement it. Is that what you're looking for?
Exactly, yes. Wow, that's great. Great mapping.
Yeah. So we've got all of these things all connected. And also just to share with you, this is what we've done in Teams. Let me show you in Teams. We've built a Power BI with all the different submissions and all the interdependencies. And then we can build almost a burn down chart. So for example, here is reference data and master data. What level is its level of compliance? What are the submission documents? And you can see here that it filters out all of the different things and the priorities and the dependencies that we have on those elements. Okay.
Oh, great. Can we have this, Mr. Howard Diesel?
You can. We will make that available to you. So can you see here we've got NDMO priority, we've got an authority priority, and we've got the phases, and each one of them have these different areas, what people are working on now, and different elements like that. That's what the resources we have available. Okay. So I just wanted to check with you, did I answer your question? So
Oh yeah, for me.
okay, so let's, I'm just going to go back to that where we were. We done all that, we did all the mappings, the spreadsheets giving you the links. And what I've done as well, Ahmed, as well, is that I've also, because we've now called them the same deliverable, okay, what I can do now is to say, now I've got a whole lot of overlap. So can you see here that the operations plan, I can deliver 16 specifications or 16 task elements by creating an overall operation plan. So an example of that would be in the DMBOK, we'd have an operating model and a operations plan or operating framework, and you can deliver those 16 by doing those areas over there. Okay. All right. So then just looking at Hisham's question here, in terms of sorry, I saw it a bit late. How would you summarize all this information to be easily digestible? I'm hoping I shared that with you there, Hisham, in terms of this Power BI over here. Let me just get it right for you. This Power BI tells us all of the different interdependencies, where we've got to get to, our distance to target, and our submission level. So what has been told to us is that we've got to get to a level 3, and now we've got a distance away. Okay, so If we do a maturity assessment and it's sitting at a level 0, we've actually got 3 jumps. We've got to go all the different way. Okay, fantastic. All right, so we used that in what we called our burn down chart, just to show you quickly, when we started with the first section, those were the distance to compliance or distance to target, and we used that as a burn down chart, and you can see we took a little bit longer to get going, and then we were able to catch up in the end there. And so it works very nicely, Hisham, in terms of building an agile approach to this compliance as well. So I'm hoping you can see you get lots of that benefit out of doing your DMMA, very similar to what we were talking about in the maturity assessment. Okay, so just as a big win, everybody, if you do these deliverables correctly, you can see, if I do this and if I do that, then when I click on a deliverable, these are all the work products and submissions that I'm getting out. Principles and policies, we did a catalog on that, and we can do them across the entire, all the NDMO stuff. So the benefit you're getting out of this is that you can progress in a very structured way, and you can move along the process, picking up all of these different elements. Okay, now just to go to bringing this to compliance, what we were saying is, why don't we link, right in the beginning I said, why don't we link NDMO compliance to DMMA? And one of the things we said was the challenge that the Saudi people have is that compliance is an on-off switch. You can't be 10% compliant. So those people that are working in Saudi, that's something that they have in the guidelines document, is to say you can't be 50% compliant. You're either compliant on a submission or you're non-compliant. So you're either 0 or 100. And so when we talk about P1, you have to be 100% on the P1 submissions, and you have to work the different areas. So the way we designed it is that you're non-compliant up to a defined level. You then go to your next level, which is compliance. And now what we're focusing on is our compliance progresses. How good are we at being compliant? So this is the approach that we took to, and Paul did this a lot. I think Paul ran 3 or 4 maturity assessments during the engagement we had to deliver P1, and he would then check up on us in terms of where we are and what our levels were. Paul, if you can you share a little bit of that? Okay.
I'm
sure
here. No, I'm clicking all over the place trying to find the button. Yes, 100%. So I'm going to actually drop a snippet image just to show what I'm going to mention. So here is an example of progressing maturity assessment. We did, that's 5 of them over time. And we used it powerfully, I believe quite powerfully, to show progress in the project, how we were progressing apart from the burn down that we constantly were watching, and we used those in our presentations back to the Steerco project office, etc., to show the progression. So you can see here in the image that I've dropped there, the target is set at 3, and we basically want to move from the start of the project through to the end of the project. Are we achieving? This is for P1 submission, so you can see we achieved the goals there. And we did that every month, just about every month. This was in line with our project milestones, so we lined that up according to project milestones. And just also, if I may add, Howard, something also I want to drop here just to show everybody, this I found quite powerful, is from a project methodology point of view, using the DMMA thinking and the maturity levels. It's the chat again, there we go. We actually use that to drive out the document. So we started off with the SME, you can see coming through there, would produce the work, would set the work at a 1.99, then it would go off to the senior solution architect. In most cases, or pretty much every case, was Howard. He would then promote it from our work to the 2, and then we would allow a review process to happen to get to a 3, And that's how we threshed out ensuring that we met the standard. So everybody, apart from not just the project team, was gaining knowledge and experience, but the stakeholders that were the business owners basically were enjoying the process as well thoroughly by reviewing every single piece of work and getting it to that 3. So there was a collective effort. It wasn't just, you know, me saying, hey, I've done my work, here's my 3. No.
Yeah,
everybody had to agree and be on the same page. So that was pretty cool, I found.
Yeah, we had lots of training there, so just to get them to sign off.
Yeah.
That was also a big one. Ahmed, I see you got your hand up.
Yes, actually, if you allow me, I understand the difference between maturity assessment and the compliance. And NDMO, they have 2, like one for compliance and one for maturity. Now, I don't know, because I can see in the image the maturity level, and in this screen, I can see the compliance. So, is it the compliance same as maturity level when we say?
Yeah, so if you
5?
look at, so if you do look at my big screen here, we mapped when we did a maturity assessment, our internal maturity assessment, Ahmed, we mapped it to, are we compliant or not compliant? That we would
Okay.
still on we would still answer the NDMO's.
It's not maturity then.
Yeah, what I'm trying to suggest to you is that we use the same technique to assess both. So we assess maturity. So if you join us if you see us on Thursday afternoons, on Thursdays, we've been talking about maturity. One of the important things, and you're right, the NDMO has a different maturity assessment. Unfortunately, they don't come down to a deliverable level where you can get evidence on how mature the deliverable is and how consistently it's been created across the different departments. So we're using the DMMA approach that we used for other companies to assess other companies. We're using the same thinking on validating our NDMO P1 journey, the P1 journey that we're taking about which one of those deliverables are at what level of maturity.
Okay, so in other words, we can say we can combine the compliance and maturity in somehow.
Yes.
Okay, I give you
100%, and it's a really nice one because as an auditor, and we're actually going to be talking about this a little bit later, as an auditor, you want to be able to say, show me the evidence that you're at this level. If they come onto site, then you can say, okay, these are all the deliverables that I create, there's all the work that I do, and you can review that for me. And I'm hoping I'll get there now. So you've seen there, it's basically a maturity and compliance monitor. Here is the Excel workbook that I've been sharing with you. Here you can see Paul had to do these deliverables. Those are the resources. That's the current phase. This is the work breakdown in terms of the allocation, so you can do your project planning there as well. Now, just to show you what we did as well, as we created a folder system that allows us to drill down from domain to control to specification to task to deliverable, and in this case, it doesn't have a subtask. And of course, there's a subtask where necessary. So, for example, in data integration interoperability, it went down to a subtask level. But can you see now that this is the deliverable that we need to submit? And it's got that nice naming convention with the unique sequence number, the DMBOK deliverable, the NDMO submission, and the maturity/compliance level. Okay, so we would have a Teams folder. All the people working on it had to put their work in the appropriate level, had to create their deliverables. That's where we would have the review, and we would go through this process of working out wherever we are and what needs to be done. Ahmed, I'm hoping that's giving you a bit of visibility as well as what we do. And
oh yeah, very well.
And what I did was Paul would submit the work. I would then go and check to see whether it was right. I was happy with it. I would change it to a V02.99 or 5. Then the project owner would say, okay, I accept this deliverable, it goes to 2.5, and we could use automated Power BI to go through and check all of our submissions across the 709 deliverables. And we used all sorts of templates as well. So here's what I wanted to share with you is depending on, so you can see here, this is a project management. We've got different templates. This is our structure, and this is where we're coming out. There's within NDMO, these are all the areas, and we can now drill down to find all of the submissions that we're interested in and different areas that we could review. So really used OneDrive quite effectively to control all of that. And then also had a submission document template. So in some cases, we would copy an Excel, some cases it would be a Word document, some cases it's going to be a text document, some cases it's going to be a PNG or an ERD model. So we could then also choose that submission was going to be at a 0-1 level when it started off, and we would be able to create those template documents that the person submitting had to do that, had to actually create that scenario. Okay. Now, unfortunately, I'm running out of time. So what I just want to share with you is some of the challenges we faced and the misconceptions that we had. Where can we go wrong? One of the misconceptions that I'm finding is that lots of times we think, oh, shucks, if I implement the NDMO regulations, my DMO will be operational. Oh, be careful of that one. Be careful. The NDMO regulation is about evidence of compliance, not operations. Okay. It doesn't, you've still got to, whilst you are getting some of these deliverables out, you've still got to be dealing with things that are missing in the NDMO specifications, a lot of the change management, the behavioral change, awareness, and things like that. And also the delivering all the submissions does not make you an effective DMO. Okay. So we've got to be careful there. Are people trained? Do people have the right level in that situation? That we still got to get everybody there, and we got to go through that process. The next one that I find that there's a misconception is that the NDMO regulation defines all the controls that I need for my DMO. Okay, and a simple one as an example was some of the issue management stuff that we had to put together pretty quickly because we were starting to execute on the DMO and there wasn't an issue management. And of course, one of the problems are you're now isolating yourself to a P1. Okay, so P1 was a lot about your planning and things like that, and P2 brings in tech. So yes, when you bring in P2 like Informatica, you may get an issue management system, but you don't have that as part of your current submissions. So there's some challenges. Okay. In general, they don't include procedures, the how-to and standards. Okay, so we have to get there. Of course, there are some domains that do. For example, data sharing and open data, those ones are there, but not everyone. And then those were the misconceptions. When I talk about challenges, this is the challenge that people face when they see those regulations. So, what happens is sometimes the project managers see, I've only got 191 complete specifications of that. I had to do something like 71 or 72 for P1. But what they didn't realize is that task and subtask explosion, it takes it from just those elements to much bigger. It creates much bigger. And the problem as well is that those tasks and subtasks within the specification, they are across different resources. So you can't just say, all right, this resource must do this one specification. So you'll have everything from a DMMA to a data strategy to vision to prioritization to resource and planning, all within that one area. And we typically know that type of thing would be broken up into a data governance specialist, a project manager, HR, learning and development. So we've got all of these different people that now have to work at that level. So that grain was a little bit challenging for us in the beginning. It scaled up pretty quickly, and we were unaware of the impact of that scaling. Okay. Then the other problem we got is a lack of templates, specification submissions. So what this creates is a challenge where we don't really have a good data model to keep all of these submissions so that it can be generated on an ongoing basis. So yeah, that's great. We create a submission now, and the very next day we go and build a new use case, we go and create some new integration, and now we're out of date. So one of my warnings and concerns that we say to everybody is be careful of just manually generating all this stuff using Excel, because you got some problems. This stuff should be all done, all captured in a database and generate. We should be able to generate the submissions. We also don't have critical data elements because we don't have a template. We of course don't have critical data elements. What is the absolute minimum that you need to produce? And then again, we also don't have data quality expectations. So how do we define and how do we agree what's fit for submission? I've played around a bit with data quality in terms of fit for consumption. I'm asking what's fit for submission? How do we know that? How do we know we're going to pass our compliance? How do we know that when the auditors come along that we're going to get the appropriate level? The challenge we're facing is lack of guidelines. And we're missing development guides to get that shared understanding. And then the last challenge that I'd like to raise here is almost this: what is the ROI that is going to help us sell this to our executive and our business areas, that they are going to buy into the level of commitment towards this NDMO regulation? What's that buy-in? And if we don't help, the people, especially the DMO managers or the CDOs, if you don't help them sell it, there's going to be a problem. Now, in saying that these regulation challenges exist, I do know for a fact that the NDMOs and SDI are working really hard at dealing with these issues. They're working on it right now. So they know that they're missing guidelines, they know that they're missing value definitions and things like that. So it's going to come. But P1 has already been done, or the time frame of P1 has been done. And I'm sure most of you guys have been battling with this in terms of justifying it up front. Okay. So these are the things we had to battle with. And I just want to share with you in terms of some of the challenges. I've started to do some thinking in terms of saying, well, from a lot of what we've been talking about now in terms of being able to run a DMO on our submissions, we need to start going to a different level of granularity. And here's just a view I started to create of, well, can we bring in some of the things that are missing in our current view? Okay, so just to share with you, here's a way of suggesting, well, what happens if we enhance the submissions to have things like maturity assessment, strategy, action plan, readiness, roadmap, mandates, measurement, roles and expectations, resource planning, those things that you're seeing in the subtask? Why? Here's an approach. If we have almost one specification has one deliverable, could there not be some benefit in not getting caught out in areas like this? Okay. So what I've been working on is a high-level submission and a low-level submission. And I think you may actually need both. It's a case of, if I'm a little bit worried about the concern that we've got too many submissions, yes, okay, I can go to a higher grain like this. Maybe this is a better higher grain level, but I still need to be able to show to the project managers and the data governance people that you're going to come down to this level. You still got to come down to this level, the low level definition. So this is sort of what my thinking has been. What's the difference between a high grain regulation and a low grain regulation? Yes, we've got fewer specifications, so we are going to manage the change better, but the benefit of having lower level grain is that we've got better auditability, better project management, no hidden deliverables, no debates about which one should be grouped, and we have more alignment to the DMBOK deliverables. Okay. So here was just some numbers that I've been playing around with is, well, what would the total number of specifications? That would go up to 480 deliverables, but then I reduce my number of deliverables that I can get within that scenario. So I've just been playing around with how, if I do, let's say a new 1.6 comes out, I've got a high level deliverable and a low level deliverable. I would increase by 32%, or in some cases 151% I'd increase, but I'd have a deliverable saving of 32%. So these are the different debates that I've got, and I probably want to stop there because we've gone over. Maybe it's just to take some comments and get some feedback with you in terms of what I've presented.
Yeah, one question, Howard.
Yes.
So for domain data security and protection, this will be covered by NCA. So the deliverables and the submission will be audited by NCA or NDMO.
This is it's a good question. I don't know the exact answer. I do believe that in the end of the day, the DMO will be responsible for packaging it and submitting it and managing the auditors when they come, be they part of NSA or be part of NDMO. It's still, everything needs to fit together.
Yeah, I'm asking because some insurance company also, NCA, it's not applicable on this an insurance company here, SAMA does. So
right.
Exactly. So for their condition, fine, I get you. That's fine.
Yes.
Thank you.
And what I keep trying to do so is to say, well, okay, let's not throw everything out. Data security is still an important point. Now, and I know SAMA has done some security ones as well. So what can we use? How do we build that and create a complete submission?
Fair enough. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks for the questions. Appreciate it. Ahmed, anything from yourself? Any more questions on your side?
No, it's all clear, Mr. Diesel.
Okay, fantastic. And one of the things I just want to share with you quickly is what we've done is we've also brought in basically an agile way of doing it. And I just want to get through a few slides here. This is an example of how we've linked the SAMA, the data strategy with SAMA, and then almost the domains. And what I want to share with you is this slide over here, where we bring the different shucks, sorry. There we go. So can you see all of those different domains? We've now mapped them into a flow, a playbook. So you start off with your use case portfolio. That's in data governance, manage it. They then create data value realization and DMMA. With that, we check in our data strategy, we check the open data with data architecture and data governance. We then do oversight as to whether we not causing any problems, whether we're doing our personal data protection, data classification, and then we go into data quality, sharing and integration, data cataloging, and BIA. So this is just a flow that you can use to implement this on an ongoing basis. And in some cases, we suggest that you can be delivering the use cases at the same time as your submissions and get value out of it as well. Okay. Any questions before we close? I'd just like to thank certainly all the Saudi people that have joined. Hopefully this gives you some more insights. I'd love to hear from you in terms of how things are going on your side, but I think we've run out of time. But any final comments? Drew, I hope that answered your question.
Howard, from my side, I think it's been great. It's interesting to see kind of the two different approaches and how they mesh and bring the value, but I think it highlights the importance of the maturity assessment as well.
Yeah, yeah. 100%.
But all good. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man. Final comments from yourself, Paul?
No, I'm good. Thanks, Howard. That was excellent. Thank you. I see all the work that you've done after, post, the learnings of the project. I see some of the ideas coming through there, which is awesome, I think. No, it was an amazing project, and whoever's embarking on it will enjoy it thoroughly, learning, there's lots of great detail. And I think if you see it in that light, it's great. It's a great help to your development in data management practices.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think all of us, as we go into this new data management career and things like that, what is helpful to all of us is if we keep mapping it to the DMBOK, that's the way where we can demonstrate on our career and our almost what we call a personal data management portfolio. You can say, right, I've been able to create all of these different deliverables. Yes, we did the NDMO submission, but I've now been able to create the DMBOK submissions as well, and I've got some experience there as well.
Yeah, brilliant.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Howard.
Righty. Let me not talk for much longer. I think we could go on for days, but anyone who'd like to chat later on, or we'll share the recording, and we'll also have a folder for a lot of these deliverables as well, and you can make use of them. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cheers, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Okay, pleasure.